Wherever you go, you are surrounded by real estate, whether they are houses, offices, shops, hotels, or education, or even healthcare facilities. These buildings are all the products of realty development. Property is a multi-business. It can involve buying land and building on it, renovating or improving, or converting property from one use to another, all of which adds higher value to the area. Property developers quite literally build the world around us, creating and changing the environments we inhabit and use on our daily basis.
Hello again and welcome to another edition of Bazaar, the weekly program that analyzes markets, profits, industries and all sorts of things that connect us nationally and internationally. This week, we will take a look at Iran's housing and light construction industry. We want to uncover how this market is doing and what contributions it is making to living standards along with the economy. Time to light up today's Bazaar.
In order to become more familiar with the activities of light construction in Iran, we decided to visit a real estate developer in the capital city, Tehran. Nexa Group was established over a decade ago and is a known name in the construction industry. Essentially, it develops luxury properties for residential purposes. In a nutshell, a developer adds value to land or property. What sets this company apart from other developers is its choice of cream-of-the-crop architects who are highly creative, innovative, and experienced in the field of design.
پروژه‌های گروه نکسا از یک خصوصیتی برخوردار هست که معماری این پروژه‌ها معماری فاخر هست. بیشترین ارزش افزوده‌ای که ما تولید می‌کنیم در قسمت طراحی معماریمون هست. طراحی معماری رو با مهندسان معمار خوشفکر این کشور کار میکنیم. حداقل شاید 10 تا معمار برتر این کشور رو تا الان توفیق همکاری باهاشون رو داشتیم و پروژه‌های بسیار فاخری رو تولید کردیم. برخی از این پروژه‌های ما جوایزی رو بردن در سطح بین‌المللی و در سطح داخلی. 2 پروژه ما تاکنون در جشنواره وف جهانی تونستن، یعنی ورلد آرشیتکچرال فستیوال، مقام اول رو کسب بکنن. یک پروژه ما در سال 92 رتبه اول ایران رو در مجله معمار کسب کرد و ساختمان بسیار معروف و مشهوری شد.
Clients who have land they wish to develop can seek the services of this contractor. This company then enters a contract with the owner and begins the process of vetting architects for designing its buildings. In recent years, several competitions have been held by this developer for residential projects. The winning design that meets the high standards of this company and its clients is awarded the project.
ما در ساختمان‌سازیامون بعضاً اشتباهات فرهنگی داریم. مردم ما بعضی موقع به ساختمان‌های اقبال می‌کنن که واقعاً اونا ارزشی ندارن. در اثر اینکه دوست دارن ساختمان لوکس داشته باشن شاید اقدام می‌کنن. ما در جنوب شهر تهران که خب مردم بضاعت کمی دارن برای ساختمان سازی، مشاهده میکنیم که حتما علاقه‌مند به نمای ساختمانشون رو تا بالا سنگ کنن. در حالی که همین الان می‌بینیم تو کشوری مثل ترکیه می‌بینیم که سیمان و رنگه، هیچ به قول معروف یک مقداری، من اسم اینو می‌ذارم فرهنگ غلط. یعنی ما بودجه کافی برای اینکه به اسکلت ساختمان بپردازیم رو نداریم و از اسکلت ساختمان که موضوع مرگ و زندگی است کم می‌ذاریم. بعد میریم داخل پذیرایی‌هامون نور مخفی کار می‌کنیم و سقف‌های کاذب کار می‌کنیم و طراحی‌های معماری می‌کنیم. چرا؟ چون میگیم که اینا مد امروز، یعنی اینا باید باشه حتما. در حالی که اینا من اسمشو می‌ذارم فرهنگ غلط ساخت و ساز. ما در گروه نکسا سعی کردیم این فرهنگ رو تا حدی تغییر بدیم. شما در ساختمان‌های ما حتما تصاویری که پخش خواهید کرد مخاطبان شما خواهند دید، سعی کردیم خیلی سادگی داشته باشیم داخل واحدامون. ما سعی کردیم به دور از تزیینات و ملحقات باشه ساختمان هامون.
But that's not all. This company also has a vast network of highly specialized subcontractors to take care of other aspects of construction, such as structure engineering, excavators, and so on. Among its many activities, this developer provides building management services. Such services include maintenance of plumbing, electrical, and mechanical installations of the building.
There are several different types of property development. Some are large scale, meaning that several lots of land are being developed into a single plot. These types of developments can be subdivided and sold individually or as a whole. There are also developments for commercial and sports uses, such as shopping centers and stadiums. Ooh, I like the sound of this.
Projects at this company range from low to medium density residential buildings. This developer also pays particular attention to designing buildings that are environmentally friendly. Most of its buildings are constructed following green practices that also elevate the living standards and quality of experience of its end users.
یکی دیگه از مسائلی که باید در ساختمانسازی ها مد نظر قرار بدیم موضوع ساختمان های اصولی و ساختمان های سبز هستش. موضوع حفظ محیط زیست، موضوع کاهش مصرف انرژی در ساختمان های ما موضوعات روز و موضوعات بسیار مهمی است. ما در گروه نکسا تلاش کردیم که تا حد خیلی زیادی این مسائل رو تو ساختمان‌های خودمون رعایت کنیم. موضوع عایق بودن جداره‌های ساختمان، موضوع استفاده از سیستم‌های برودتی و حرارتی با مصرف انرژی بهینه در دستور کار ساختمان‌های ما هست.
One of its most recent residential projects is called Phoenix. What is most unique about this building is that it was designed based on the traditional 9-square method of Iranian architecture. This green building incorporates the needs of people during the coronavirus pandemic, which includes spaces for working from home. Large investments are made in real estate development each day, but adding value to the property, such as luxury structures with numerous amenities, are what really drive profits. And this company is ready to work with foreign investors and export its services along these lines.
پروژه های متعددی که ما تونستیم تعریف بکنیم همکنون در کشور، در شهر تهران و در شمال پروژه های تعریف شده که اینها میزان بازدهی سودش خیلی خوبه و بازدهی سرمایه بسیار عالی داره. اگر که حالا اون مباحث کلان اقتصادی که امنیت سرمایه گذاری در سطح کلان هست انشالله در کشور بیش از اونچه که بوده فراهم بشه، ما این قابلیت رو داریم که در پروژه های خودمون قدرت جذب سرمایه گذار خارجی رو داشته باشیم و به لحاظ ارزش سرمایه گذاری و موضوعات پارامترهای مهم اقتصادی کاملا میتونیم به نسبت نمونه های خارجی اونچه که در کشورهای همسایه در اتفاق میفته و کشور اروپایی حتی کیس های ارزشمندتری رو ما بتونیم ارائه کنیم.
One of the competitive advantages of this developer, relative to others in the country, are its innovative and exceptional designs that gain the attention of clients and customers. Its luxury developments are geared to entice customers with more accommodations, higher-end options that integrate an entire lifestyle, and an elevated culture of living. The quality of its work has increased competition in the domestic market, making its buildings a must-have among customers.
ما نسبت به رقبای خارجی بالاخره باید قبول کنیم که نقطه ضعفی داریم. رقبای خارجی به تامین کننده های جزء راحت‌تر از ما وصل میشن. افرادی که متریال تولید میکنن مثل قطعه سازایی که تو صنعت خودرو هستن، خب تو صنعت خودرو میبینید که شرکت‌های قطعه سازی میتونن بلافاصله با سفارش از اون ور دنیای قطعه رو وارد بکنن بیارن تو کارخونه خودشون و این سریع بودن این ارتباطات خب خیلی کمکه. ما به واسطه تحریم‌ها خیلی مشکل داریم تو این قسمت. ما بعضن چیزهایی که در خارج کشور به شکل آماده وجود داره مجبوریم اینجا بشینیم هزاران ساعت فکر کنیم و تولیدش کنیم که خودتون میدونید تو مقوله تولید اینا به صرفه نیست. من فکر میکنم که خب ما این نقطه ضعف رو داریم به نسبت سازنده های خارجی.
This property developer also has a unique view of the US imposed sanctions which has helped the company thrive throughout the years.
تحریم ها که فرمودید خب بالاخره در یک سری از کالاهای لوکس شاید صدماتی رو به ما زده، ولی از اون ور منشأ خیرات بوده، چون خیلی از تولید کننده های ما همکنون به تولید اون کالاهایی پرداختن که تا چند وقت پیش داشت وارد میشد. ما در حوزه کاشی سرامیک الان پیشرفت فوق‌العاده‌ای داشتیم. کاشی‌های سایز بزرگ حتی سایز 1.20 در 3.60 الان در کشور داره تولید میشه که تا یک سال پیش اصلا ما اینا رو نداشتیم. تو شیرالات، توی پنجره‌ها، توی درب‌ها اینا همه حوزه‌ای است که ما میتونم عرض کنم که تقریباً مشکل خاصی نداریم. اون درصد اندکی از کالاها هستش که ما همچنان نیاز به واردات کالاها داریم. تو تأسیسات مکانیکی همچنان نیاز به واردات داریم و به نظرم میاد در این قسمت تحریم ها خیلی خدمت کرده واقعا به رشد صنعت ساختمان. تولیدی‌های بسیار زیادی الان تو کشور دارن کار میکنن به خاطر اینکه نمونه خارجی بسیار گران قیمته.
Iran has a growing population of around 85 million people, and the majority of the population is still young. But as time goes by, this population will age as they start families. With this in mind, many of them are embarking on the journey of purchasing homes. And for this to become possible, more housing units need to be constructed to meet this growing need.
The Ministry of Roads and Urban Development estimates that the per capita of housing for each Iranian is around 200 square meters. This means that 17 billion square meters of buildable land is needed to house every Iranian. According to the Ministry of Roads and Urban Development, the annual demand for homes stands at 900,000 units. In more general terms, according to the Ministry of Housing, some 10 million units are currently needed. This is while the average annual production volume for homes is around 300,000 units. So around 1 million residential units need to be built each year to satisfy this demand. Figures from the Statistics Center of Iran show construction of housing increased by nearly 40% last year. Data from the Ministry of Roads and Urban Development show municipalities issue an average of 350,000 residential construction permits each year. Of this amount, roughly 70% lead to construction. However, experts say this is not nearly enough to meet annual housing demands. Last year, the housing construction market saw a slump in completing projects. This was mainly due to the jump in land prices and construction materials that deepened the housing recession. The Ministry of Roads and Urban Development says housing prices have increased by 200% over the last 5 years. This has increased the purchase parity, making some vulnerable groups unable to buy a home.
It might be interesting to know that this issue has gathered the attention of the government for some time now. The government has implemented initiatives to help people purchase homes. One of these initiatives was to increase the amount of bank loans for first home buyers. Several other plans are also underway, such as the vacant house tax plan to increase the amount of available homes.
President Ibrahim Raisi has pledged to build 1 million residential units each year for the next 4 years. This scheme was presented to address and prevent a housing shortage in the country. The Building Contractors Association says planning, execution, and building material is available. It emphasized that with large investments and land allocation, this plan can easily go forward. But authorities contend that infrastructure such as electricity and water connectivity requires more planning. Government officials also say wrinkles in the financial model for this project still need to be ironed out. Iran is entirely self-sufficient when it comes to construction material, according to the Ministry of Industry, Mining and Trade. Steel, glass, and cement is produced in abundance in the country. In fact, the surplus of these items are exported to several countries around the world. Meanwhile, the light construction industry in Iran is booming amid a long housing recession. New spaces and innovative designs that incorporate the needs of people are being built. Homes are not just a place to live, they are increasingly being seen as a source of capital and a place to increase the quality of living standards. There is also a growing trend towards designing sustainable buildings that reduce emissions and negative environmental impacts. All these achievements make this industry a promising one with a bright future.
Now it's that time of the show for me to step aside for several minutes because my good friend and colleague has another awesome field report lined up for you. Take it away.
The basis of the steel industry is iron ore. As courtesy of this critical raw material, the steel is all around us. In the beneficiation process, the gangue minerals, or the mineral matter of no value that occurs with the metallic ore, is removed from the mineral substance and iron ore concentrate is produced. The concentrate is then shipped from mining plants as a bulk commodity by rail to a facility like this.
Hi again, the wagons carrying the iron ore concentrate have reached their destination. What happens at this stage is that through a gargantuan machine, they are overturned. This is called a wagon tippler. What it does is that it tips the wagons. Look, it retains the wagons from the top and it overturns them. First, the wagons are detached from other wagons and then they're lifted over here. And look at those arms. Look at those arms, how gigantic they are. And now they're going to retain the wagon, overturn it to empty its load into a container. From that container, the iron ore concentrate is going to be mixed. First, it's going to travel through some distance and it's going to be mixed with some additives to be fed into the pelletizing process. Now I want you to take a closer look at how these arms work. Look at them. They're going to retain the wagon now.
In this week's feature program, we visited Chormalu Industrial Facility located in the center of Iran, Yazd province. The iron ore concentrate must be pelletized for use in iron and steel making. In summary, pelletizing is achieved by combining the iron ore with water and a specific binder, which is then rolled up in a balling drum to produce relatively uniform pellets, which can then be easily handled in downstream processes.
And here we are. This powder that you can see here is the iron ore concentrate now mixed with some additive. It is now fed into these large discs. Here in this industrial complex, everything is just enormous. This is called the pelleting disc. And as you can see, it's really huge. Now what happens here is through the use of centrifugal force, the powder gets compressed and it's just pushed to the edges of this disc. And after the powder completes a couple of rotations, and as it grows in size, then it forms the pellets. And once it is just large enough, it will exit the rotation because of that centrifugal force, and it moves over to the conveyor belt, and it's now time for grading. Now, those particles that are just perfect in size and shape, they will move on to travel over to the kiln where the content moisture is removed and sintering takes place. So the iron pellet now gets hardened, and after that, cooling takes place. Now, stay with us for more.
Chormalu's pelletizing plant, with a production capacity of 3.4 million tons per year, employs 500 people directly and another 3,000 indirectly. The iron ore pellets will be transferred to stackers and are piled in an area which can store 300,000 tons of pellets.
Fe2O3. I don't know how familiar you are with chemistry and the chemical reactions and the periodic table, but anyway, at this stage of the process, Fe2O3 is going to be turned into Fe through a process that is called direct reduction of iron. And this process is done by three main stages. The first stage occurs up there. Look at that large conveyor belt and that tall furnace. The pellets are poured into the furnace, and what happens inside the furnace is two gases are going to hit the pellets. The gases are carbon monoxide and molecular hydrogen. They're extracted from natural gas over there through a process that is called reformation. And these two gases are going to hit the pellets, and through three chemical reactions, Fe2O3 is going to turn into Fe, which is called the reduced iron, or also sponge iron because of its high porosity. Now, this process can be done in two different ways. One is called hot direct reduction of iron, and the other one is called cold direct reduction of iron. Now, I'm going to move on to the next and the final stage, steel production.
Hot direct reduced iron, or HDRI, is DRI that is transported hot directly from the reduction furnace into an electric arc furnace, thereby saving energy. Whereas cold DRI is the one that is cooled and stored before being charged to a furnace. Well, on the face of it, there's no reason for facilities to even consider cold DRI, but in reality, it's not really that simple. The development of mankind would have been impossible but for steel. It fueled the Industrial Revolution and remains the backbone of modern industrialized economies. The process continues with primary steel making, which is done via electric arc furnace at Chorormalu, and then moves on to secondary steel making, which involves treating, continuous casting, and shaping.
And this is a place where the final product is made, the steel billet. And you can tell how hot it is in here. Well, the process here starts with the electric arc furnace. It melts the sponge iron that I talked about earlier. And what happens next is that we need some ladles. Ladles are containers. They're going to contain the molten material. Then the ladders are taken over some molds. Molds are going to carry the molten material, and as the molten material is carried over some distance, it solidifies into the final product, which is the steel billet. Now this complex is really huge. Everything inside it is gigantic. And I've been with you from the very beginning of this process, the iron concentrate, to the very end, which is the steel billet. See you next time.
Thanks for that educational adventure once again. We are almost out of time, but before we go, let's take a look at some news and trends in the housing and light construction industry. Three-dimensional printing has been around since the early 1980s, but it is now gathering steam. And a group of Iranian engineers have developed a massive 3D printer that can print entire buildings. Goodness me.
This giant printer moves on rails and deploys cement. The cement is stacked up layer by layer in coils by the printer to build the structure. The method is cost-effective as it combines several processes into a single step and can print a house in 48 hours. Other advantages of this machine are that it can print a variety of customized structures. The printer is used to make small-scale homes, and only a handful of companies around the world offer this technology.
Electricity is at our fingertips all the time, but what if a building could be powered by the energy of our movement? Well, a new technology is emerging that converts kinetic energy into electricity to help supply power to buildings. Human energy itself, genius.
This technology is a type of electromagnetic flooring which harnesses kinetic energy from footsteps to produce clean electricity. The tiles feed energy to a battery for later use. Excess energy can also return to the electrical grid. The energy can be easily produced from gyms and other areas with high activity and movement, such as busy sidewalks. The technology was first developed by a European company and was recently installed in a Brazilian football stadium to power lights around the field.
And finally, there is a growing trend towards prefabrication of homes. The process is typically called modular construction, which is famous for being environmentally friendly. It's good to be green.
In this method of construction, parts of the building are created at an off-site location. Walls, roofs, and other parts of the structure are manufactured and partially assembled. These components are then transported to the building site and assembled on location. Typically, these are small structures that can be disassembled and moved to different places when desired. There are several companies in Iran that specialize in this type of construction. Their products range from small suites that can be used for camping to entire homes.
Brilliant stuff. Well, that covers our show for today. In case you missed it, you can watch bits and pieces of this episode and other editions on our Instagram page. Don't forget to leave us your feedback. You can also get in touch with us via email and let us know your thoughts and comments. I have been Samson Sees. Sees you in the next bazaar.